You can either quit or be fired. So many employees face this exact choice and don't realize the legal and strategic consequences of their decision. It's a very big deal, and your choice makes all the difference. So, today's topic, quit or be fired, what you need to know before you decide, is something that you want to know and share with everybody else who might be able to use this information. So, this question sounds like a choice. It's one of the oldest tricks in the book. When your employer says you can either quit or be fired, it really does sound like a choice. But trust me, it's not. It's straight strategy and is designed to protect them, not you. They're not doing you any favor. So I'm going to explain what's really happening when you're given that kind of ultimatum, what the law says about it, and I'm going to tell you how you can protect yourself before you make a move that could cost you your rights, your unemployment benefits, and possibly even your case if you later decide that you want to file a lawsuit. So, what's the point? Why do employers even make it a point to say you have an option of quitting or being fired? So, I guess to state it simply, this line is all about damage control. Employers don't want a paper trail. They don't want a paper trail showing that they terminated you, especially if they know that the firing, your termination, could look suspicious. So, for example, if you have complained about discrimination, harassment, retaliation, or even if you have reported some type of unethical behavior, poor working conditions, whatever it is that you've done, they know that if they fire you after that, it can look like revenge, retaliation. And retaliation claims are hard for them to win. But if you resign, they get what they want. There's no termination, there's no unemployment claim, there's no liability. So, when you later come back and say, I was forced to quit, they'll pull out your resignation letter and say, oh no, not so fast. You voluntarily resigned. No one forced you to quit. You chose to leave. See, here it is, your resignation letter. That's why they do it. That's why I always tell people, if you are ever given the choice, let them fire you. Let them explain why they fired you shortly after you complained. Let them explain. So, at will employment means that they don't have to give you a reason for firing you unless you challenge it. Unless you go to court and challenge it, then they have to explain. So, there's a difference. When you quit, you're essentially saying, I left on my own. And they can fill in whatever kind of story they want to. Oh, I heard she met someone. Or I hear he got another job. Hey, I think he said he was just unhappy because you quit. It makes it much harder to prove you were treated unfairly. Most employment offices are going to deny you your employment benefits if you quit voluntarily. Not all, not always, but majority of the time. And in court, your employer is going to pull out their resignation letter as evidence that you were not forced out. Even if you were backed in a corner, it's not going to be reflected in that resignation letter. Now, there is something called constructive discharge. I hate that. That's when working conditions become so intolerable that a reasonable person would have no choice but to quit. But let me be clear. Constructive discharge claims are the hardest claims to prove. The standard is so high. How do you mean no reasonable person? That's so subjective. You'd have to show extreme circumstances like harassment, retaliation, or dangerous conditions, not just unfair treatment. It's got to be through the roof. So unless your situation fits that standard, quitting often, almost always, weakens your position. I mean, if you're a woman or a person, whatever gender, working somewhere and you're experiencing sexual harassment and the boss won't keep his hands off you and he also happens to be the owner, that would justify your leaving, because what are you going to do? He owns it, and every time you go, this is what you're dealing with. That's an example where constructive discharge might work, but I don't see it other than that. If they fire you, it's their action. They made the decision, they now own it, and they have to explain it. That means you can apply for unemployment benefits, possibly file a wrongful termination lawsuit, And, build a paper trail that shows you didn't walk away, they pushed you out. They pushed you out. It's their decision. Let them explain it. So even if they claim it was for performance, attendance, or behavior, whatever reason they are alleging that they fired you, they have to prove it. And if their documentation doesn't line up with reality, now you have evidence that their reason that they put on paper, what they told the court, wasn't the real reason. It's pretext. Pretext for the real reason, which is probably discrimination or retaliation. So let them make that decision, because the moment you quit, they don't have to explain anything. They win. They win. So don't let them do that. So what do you do when you're actually in the moment? You're in that room and they say, I'm going to give you the option. You can quit or be fired. Well, first thing I always tell people is don't panic. Don't get emotional about it, because if you're emotional, you don't make the best decisions. So keep your emotions in check. Stay calm. And remember this video. So here's what you do. You ask for clarification in writing. Say, I want to confirm what you're saying. Are you asking me to resign, or are you firing me? And that forces them to choose their words carefully. Don't sign anything on the spot. Now, they might hand you a resignation letter and say, just sign this. You have the right to take it home and review it. Sometimes you're signing away your rights. And sometimes they might offer, I'll give you 2 weeks pay. I'll give you a month's pay if you just sign this. Make sure you understand, they don't give you something for nothing. So that letter is going to contain some waivers. So make sure you have an attorney review that. And then when you get back to your home or office or whatever, you send them an email and say, this email is to confirm that you have asked me to resign or that you fired me, or whatever it is. You just want to make sure that you put in that email, I am not voluntarily resigning. You gave me no choice. And that one sentence will make all the difference later on with your EEOC charge, with your lawsuit with the unemployment office. Make sure you call it exactly what it is. So what do you do if they go ahead and go through with the termination? I mean, they're going to do what they want to do. Most of us have been fired before, and we live to fight another day. Life goes on, and usually it gets better. First thing you should do is apply for unemployment benefits. Don't wait. There's very short deadlines. And if you are planning to file a lawsuit, perhaps make sure you comply with all the EEOC deadlines. If you don't go to the EEOC, you might be stopped from filing a lawsuit before you even get started. So make sure you are complying with all those deadlines. And, it's always a good idea to consult an employment lawyer if you think that you might have a claim. If you have to pay for the consultation, whatever. Most lawyers will do a consultation without paying, without you having to pay for it. It just depends. I don't, because I don't have enough time for that. I do consultations, but I can't afford to not. I would spend all my time doing free consultations. I do consultations, but I do charge for them. But, again, in your state, you might be able to find a lawyer who will not charge for one. Do what you need to do. But make sure that you know your rights before or when you leave, because you might have a claim. Make sure that you set up a schedule, keep busy, because it can get depressing a little bit. So make sure that you are exercising. Make sure that you try to go ahead and sign up with temp agencies, do volunteer work, whatever you need to do to keep busy until you can get back on track, because it's just a matter of time. You absolutely will. I see it every day. See you next shift.